Hi, my name is Heaven George, and I'm from Redlands, California. So basically, today's video is going to be on voice to skull. Alright, voice to skull is, I don't know, if you look at the internet, you do Google search, stuff like that. Whew, I have some breathing problems. I'm on a new medication. It's affecting my breathing a little bit. So, I noticed, like, it's been, oh, sorry, this is totally off topic. I'm out of breath right now for some reason. Anyways, oh, that's the price you gotta pay when you're that's not even what the video's about. The video's gonna be about voice to skull and stuff like that, my opinions on it. Now, if you go on the internet, with the gang stalking, a big chunk of it is on microwave hearing and electronic harassment. So, microwave radiation experimentation, as well as, what's the other one? There's another thing that they do with these videos. What's it called? Microwave hearing. Oh, the voice to skull that I just brought up. So, what the voice to skull is supposed to be, these are like the two main ones that, honestly, because I'm so alone and desperate and have like nothing to do all day, I have kind of looked at these weird conspiracy theories and that. But you know, after looking, it's still in my mind. It's a little shaky in that they admit they cannot prove that these situations exist. Like some of it is real, in the sense that it has been proven. Like I think the microwave stuff, that was I think the interrogation method thing where they tried to with the military hospital or something like that. MK Ultra, I forgot what it's called exactly. You have to go figure that out if you want to learn more on it. But you just Google MK Ultra and it's just about the experimentation gone wrong. I don't have like the dates or time or anything like that, in the sense that I don't really. It's not in-depth research. It's just kind of things I Googled and what I memorized off the top of my head based on whatever I read. And that's what I'm spitting back out. But anyway, so then there's the Counter Pro and then the Monarch Pro. If you just Google those particular words, either Monarch or Counter Pro or MK Ultra. MK Ultra is supposedly the most popular in order to understand it. Then you'll do your own research. That's all you have to do. Just Google those two, or you can read a book on it. You cannot find books like this in the local library, so it's something you'd have to order from a bookstore or the internet. Pretty much, this is one or the other, because the internet pretty much has anything. Not everything. There's still limits, like I said. Like they don't give you necessarily the best. They don't necessarily give you like the best. What do you call it? Interpretation. What I mean by that is like if you need like something to make it easy for you to understand, you have to sometimes you read a book on it and stuff. I used everything the internet, and because I don't want to go to the library, I don't want to pay for the bookstore, so I just I don't know, whatever. It doesn't really help you that much, in the sense that ultimately, in order to help yourself, you have to be happy and healthy and all sorts of stuff like that. Okay, so anyways, other examples I can think of with this particular scenario or whatever. What was I gonna say? Yeah, so with voice to skull, I don't really have much information on it, and that it hasn't really directly impacted my life or whatever. I'm not sure if I really believe in it. I know a lot of people say they believe in that stuff, and I was just gonna put it the lighting's really bad. I purposely got this lighting, and then now the sunlight is starting to get all shattery and stuff, which is really annoying out this way. Sometimes I wonder if the neighbors are doing it, or if it's just the natural sunlight scenario. Let's see here. And so some other examples to the situation. I already brought up about voice to skull and how I don't really believe in that. I understand why people feel like there's voice to skull or they're hearing voices, because what ends up, I think obviously there's some people that might actually be mentally ill. That could be a possibility, that this whole situation of gang stalking is not really happening to them. The other possibility is that people have harassed them for so long that they're now getting sensitized to a lot of the body language challenge, gesturing, harassment, code signals, and stuff, and now they're thinking people are talking to them, or as a result of the trauma, they're now actually having slight symptoms of mental disorders as a result of it, and that's how they think they have the voice to skull. I'm not here to make fun of people that believe that they have a voice to skull situation. I think the voice to skull, it is actual real invention or something. If you look it up online, I think that it has been proven to actually have been so it has been proven to actually, like, people have actually what do you call it, you know, they believe that it works or that it has been used at some point in history or whatever, like military hospital, something like that. The voice to skull. I don't really believe in voice to skull, to be honest with you. I think it's possible, but I'm not sure. I do believe in the body language and the code signals, which again, all of this, if you ever complain to, you know, police or to psychiatry, if you wanted a therapist or something, that they would deem you as mentally ill if you complain. A lot of the stuff that gangstalkers complain about, you'll basically be diagnosed as mentally ill for anyone, even if the worst really is happening. If you say that everybody in your town is like slandering you or trash talking you or bullying you or whatever, they will literally say that it's a symptom of a mental. Any psychiatrist, any therapist, any police department, if you were to ever complain that, like, it's not the whole world, right? We live in America or whatever country you live in, right? You're just saying the people around you. You're not saying, okay, that the United States government, the president, is doing this to you. Okay, so it's not that crazy. It's not aliens. There's aliens in other planets. Actually, if you said there were aliens, you have a right to believe there's aliens, because there are some people. There's even a show, is it called? It's on the History Channel. Something about the aliens and UFOs. So there's some people that believe it. It does not mean you're mentally ill if you actually believe that there are aliens. If you said you've seen an alien, that may or may not qualify as mental illness, but there are, you know, there's just people, they say they've seen objects in the sky or things like that, and they have videotapes of weird things they've videotaped, like of this. It's true, because, you know, the sky, you might have seen like a comet drop or something. I don't know, they just see the way the cloud rolls or something and they'll claim that was an alien or something. That's pretty much how they get confused like that. But, what was I going to say about aliens? I don't really care if there's aliens or not. That's not my objective. That's not my problem. That's not the situation of my life. That's not what's happening or whatever. So anyways, what was I going to say about, voice to skull? Voice to skull, I think it's already proven as they have made it as, I don't know, torture tactic or something. Like, anyways, you don't really need voice to skull in the sense that you could drive people crazy. I guess they're saying that the noise, you can hear it specifically for you, and kind of like hypnotism, it tells you and orders you to do something and something like that. I don't know, there's also some people that believe in the whole mind reading and thought reading and this microwave hearing and stuff like that. It's part of the gangstalking. Like, if you really read a lot of books on gangstalking or internet articles, they'll start claiming these type of conspiracy theories or odd beliefs. I'm not an extreme. I don't really believe in that stuff. I think that these people are, I don't know, they're interested in it. The reason I even read stuff like that, or stuff like that on the internet, you know, most people in America would never read stuff like that because it's really, really boring, and unless it applies to your life, you're not really gonna care. So, because the only reason why I read stuff like that a little bit sometimes is because the fact that everybody's like slandering me, harassing me, mobbing, blah blah, so it kind of struck an interest on me. But yeah, voice to skull. A lot of people, they do say bad words when you're walking by. Example, well, me, I say it directly to certain people, but I'm not going to say who I say it directly. I'll say it to myself a lot, which I'm not getting into. That's totally different. But sticking on the topic of voice to skull, yeah. People... Alright, so the people that believe in... Let me try to get the lighting correct. The lighting was just, it was perfect, and then the lighting got really, really bad. have to do this for the lighting. I really didn't want to do this or whatever. As I still like. So anyways, basically. Okay. So anyways, basically with the whole like voice skull thing or whatever, I personally think it. I'm not here to like make fun of people that feel that they have these problems because I know with my situation, I don't know. I was just looking at possibilities of what's going on, blah blah. The problem with a lot of gang stalking stuff, they can't really prove it. This whole even process of gang stalking, like most people can't really prove they're being gang stalked. That's why they go on the internet complaining, or you know, you hear a lot of people say they complain, or they'll even have videos of people, you know, that you know they're walking by or whatever, and they don't. I don't know. I've seen a lot of YouTube videos on people claiming to be gang stalking victims and stuff on the internet. They don't really have evidence, in my opinion, from all this stuff. They do show like the hand signals and code signals and stuff like that, but it doesn't look real, is what I would say. It just like it's not hard. Like they can never take it to court. There are some videos. The best videos are the ones that they just story tell. They just tell their story of what's happening to them because the stuff on video is not like it would never hold up in court. But I understand because like sometimes if you see some of the videos, like I understand what they're saying. Like a normal person, if you saw the video, you'd be like, oh, okay, so what? Somebody gave this weird hand signal because the code word, it's like the little sign language stuff. And so a person, not really sign language, the body language gesture stuff, like the putting hand over mouth or tapping the shoulder, like tapping their finger a particular way, or putting their finger near their nose, things like that, or putting their finger in their ear, and then they do the little like corkscrew with their finger to the ear thing. And so they do these little codes, the coughing, stuff like that. People, like, they fake pretending to be sick, or they do just weird stuff. So most people would think that's normal, right? Because it's not like someone farting. Someone farting, that's just disgusting. That's gross. That don't look normal. I was like, well, that's gross. Now, that's a totally different topic. I'm not even getting into. But these type of stuff, it's just like normal stuff that everybody would do. It is and it isn't in the sense that people don't really move their bodies that much. Like if you've ever paid attention to the human body when people are sitting, unless they're constipated or they have a cold, because some people really do have a flu cold, but you know, if you take medication, your body won't really move that much. See, I never knew that because I didn't really take medications when I had colds. I just looked, well, sometimes it did, sometimes it didn't. It depends. The medication helps. Don't get me wrong. It's very good to take medication when you have a cold or flu. It really does help. But if you don't take the medication, then your nose will start raining and blowing, and you start coughing and sneezing a lot more. So for a real sick person, yeah, it's a real symptom. But generally, most people don't move their bodies along, so a lot. That's why it's kind of noticeable. The people that do the biological gesturing harassment, they do kind of move their body a little bit more than what is natural. And it goes back to the sign language, biological gesturing harassment. They move it more than a natural person would. That's my opinion. Now, of course, to a normal person, they might see them as a fidgety person because there are some people that have extreme anxiety, or by nature, they move their body a little bit more than natural. They kind of they just, their hand, guess they move their hands a lot and stuff. There's some people by nature that are that way. So that's why people won't really understand. So like, I understand because when I see the videos online, when I see the little Google and stuff, and then they'll put like, they'll go to a store or they'll go to a park or a sidewalk when they're walking down the street, and then someone does these weird little hand gestures and stuff, and I understand it because I've been through it and all that. I understand it, but a normal person that's not a victim to this crime will think you're crazy, basically, if you claim that people are like moving their body and nothing. This is why some of the gang stalking information, this is why I'm not sure if I even really qualify for gang stalking, though all the stuff I look on the internet for this particular, because when I read books on slander, I don't know, it doesn't really interest me as much because it's so specified to a particular person or situation, like it's like labeling, and it's like you need harder evidence, more court related, and it's more like internet defamation, like something that ruined your life and you can prove it, you know, or else people are gonna call you crazy if you said this person. And now gossip, some people might be like, oh, okay, if a person's taking credit for the gossip, because sometimes there's people, let's say you and a friend, they know someone else, you didn't like each other, and you know, they gossip about you, they say stuff, and they admit to it, but they say they didn't lie. They'll say that, you know, they saw you, and they said that you did this and you did that. Most of the time, it's like, they say that you said something bad about them or something behind their back or someone else, something like that, right? And then they'll admit to it. They'll be like, yep, that's what I said. But they're either lying or they're telling the truth. Depends. So if it's gossip, if they're lying, then, you know, they're trying to be enemies. If they're telling the truth, then that's your fault. Why you're angry, obviously. Those situations are more direct, though, because usually if someone's like gossiping about you, you'll know. You'll know who's gossiping about you. Not always, so some people do make a secret. Generally, you won't, and you'll get over it, and that doesn't really damage your teeth that bad. Like, maybe a friendship or two might break. It could be that bad, but generally, it's not, like, destructive to your life or anything like that. At the worst, it's just a friendship breakup. It doesn't really do that much. And if you avoid the person, then they should leave you alone. It's not really that. You know, even if the person's a liar, or they're telling, it doesn't matter if they're lying or telling the truth. Either way, you can just split it or repair it. You can forgive each other and, oh, okay, we'll get along again. So, I mean, it just depends on what you want to do with it. But the gang stalk, that's why I look up a lot on the internet with gang stalking, because the gang stalking, it sounds crazy. Exactly what this sounds really crazy, because the slander and mobbing and all other stuff like that, like, what do you call it? The slander, like I said, it's more like court-related stuff, and we obviously don't have court evidence, and so, like, a lot of stuff you see on the internet or book is more like, literally, if you were going to court and type of advice, or just people don't take you seriously. Usually, it's not, unless you're a celebrity, unless you're rich and famous and stuff like that, to where it goes, like, all over the TV and all that. Usually, if you're not famous, if you're not rich or anything, for normal people, slander doesn't really destroy your life. It can. But generally, if you leave state or if you move counties, you don't need to move like 10 hours away, a 10-hour drive. No, you could just move like an hour's drive, or maybe like 2 or 3 hours drive, and it should pretty much clear itself if it was that bad to where it was community trash talk. I mean, generally, if you like relocate, you should be fine. And that'd be really bad case. It's not gang stalking. The thing with slander too is that usually your employees are not involved, meaning people will do their job correctly, unless it's a job-related slander. If it's like slander at your job, then that's really, really bad, and then you might have to actually switch. It could destroy your career if it's something on a newspaper or even accused of a crime. So anything on a newspaper that could destroy your life too. It depends too with the particular of the newspaper. Not everything on newspaper is gonna ruin your life. It just depends on what it was. But yeah, so for things that are slander, like not newspaper, stuff like that, shouldn't really ruin your life too much. I don't know. From my understanding of the situation, you know, I don't know. That's why I like to look up stuff on gang stalking, because it just, when you read it, it feels like I don't even know if I necessarily fit the description of a victim of gang stalking, but it just seems like it, because it sounds very, very crazy, because everybody really is involved and the employees are involved. Like with slander, yes, people, example, like they might invite you to like weddings or funerals or baptisms, or like socially it becomes, if it really did occur, then yes, socially when you meet people, visiting people's houses stuff, it can affect to that degree. But it does not usually if it was very effective. Now, again, not counting, no newspaper. I'm not talking about the newspaper one could destroy your life. I mean, it really depends on, not always. There are criminals that are on the newspaper and they're able to refunction, for example, like the drug dealer stuff, gang member. Well, yeah, because not all gang members, their life's not always destroyed. It depends which gang you were in and what you were charged with, and, you know, if you created any enemies with the government employee or something like that. So generally, I mean, like, even even being a criminal, your life is not necessarily destroyed when you come back to the public. It depends particularly what crimes you committed and stuff like that, or what you've been found guilty of, or what you've been accused of, things of that nature. So, also the amount of sentencing, how long you've been in prison for as well, because people that are in, for long type sentences, like 10 years or more, people are going to be very afraid. They're going to think, not always, because there's some people that are like, they go in for 1 or 2 years and they come out, and they have this like repeat cycle of, they go in and then they take a break another year, they go back in for another year, then they get out another year, and they get back in. There's they back and forth like that, and for small stuff, and they just create problems like that. Yeah, no, I mean, people will stay away from me, don't get me wrong, but with these gang stalking situations, obviously you don't have a criminal record, so the reason they don't like you is the reason they don't like you Alright, so the reason they don't like you is because, whatever has been rumored about you. So anyways, yeah, so when you look at the topic of, like, gossip, or gang stalking, or mobbing, or whatever, I don't know, it sounds crazy. It explains, like, oh, a lot of people have gone through your problems, and you're really stressed out, and, you can't get help, and the police are involved. Not always, but sometimes. Psychiatry is involved, and the person who doesn't like you, they abuse the system, they abuse the healthcare facility, so if you do try to get help, they don't take you seriously, and stuff like that. Usually, like, if you were really a slander victim, I don't know, it's just to the degree and severity, it doesn't fall under slander, because generally, again, when you're not talking about real investigations, like no court case involves stuff like, so when you're not of course when you talk about court case involved stuff, yeah, your whole life can be destroyed. Now, there's not much internet articles on the destruction of your life upon release of being accused of a crime, but this is not the same thing, because they don't have anything on you, at least not what they're willing to go to court with. So they 100% have the ability to create false evidence. Everybody does, so they have that opportunity to do so. The treatment, like I said, is pretty much on the level of if you had gone to court accused of a major crime and found not guilty and non-innocent. They treat you on the exact level. Is usually how these gang stalking situations operate. Now, I guess the difference between my opinion or what the stuff on gang stalking, they say, like, not everybody does it, and that only certain people do it, and that the abuse is really electrical, that the abuse is through, like, electronic harassment. Different people say different things online and on the internet. Like, some of them say that it's electronic harassment or whatever. Other people say that it's more of a mobbing type bullying situation. I'm more in the category of that's my interpretation or different. And some people could easily say that I'm not a real victim, or I don't really understand what's going on, blah blah blah. But here's the thing: for any of the gang stalking victims, they can't really prove that gang stalking even exists. The person that invented the word gang stalking, or the idea of targeted individual, they can't prove about these whole bugging and that they're being stalked, or that government employees are involved. They may have had bad memories, situations where they had talked to a police officer, or they had talked to someone at their work or boss who might have said, hey, we're watching you, or we don't like you, or something. And you get paranoid, and then you think, oh, okay. Then they bugged my car, they bugged my house, their computer hacking me, their phone hacking. In your head, someone could have told you that to scare you, but it doesn't mean that it's real. It's, like I said, it's possible, but nobody's really able to prove that they've been bugged. In most cases, from what I'm seeing online, they feel like someone's watching them, and people say bad things about them, or do the gesture harassment stuff, and they may feel stressed and have trouble sleeping and all this other stuff. They may have trouble, and stuff. So that's how I think some people may believe in the electronic harassment stuff, and I'm not saying that they're lying, I'm not saying that they're wrong, I'm not trying to discredit. I do think if you claim to be a victim of gang stalking, that you probably, somebody is, probably slandered you and, is kind of having people isolate you, treat you with cold shoulder, and that they're kind of avoiding you and stuff like that, and giving you that odd feeling. There's the feeling, when you're near people or you talk to people, there's just this awkward silence or unnatural, I agree. I think I don't know if I really believe the whole electrical aspect, but I think something's going on. Now, unlike the psychiatrist, if you went to a psychiatrist or whatever, or a psychologist or therapist, whatever, help hotline, warm line, try to get talk, they're going to say you're crazy. They're going to say that everything you're saying is false, it's not real, it's not possible. This is a disease. They'll probably label you schizophrenia, most likely, or delusional disorder. Either way, the medicine for either both schizoaffective, bipolar, some sort of brain psychiatric issue. That's what they will diagnose you if you complain like this, basically, unless you can prove it. Which I would say from the stuff I've been reading online and YouTube, it does not seem likely. I have not seen a successful court case on something like this, though technically it is possible to do a court case on something like this, but it's just a lot of lying. Mostly, there's a lot of lying involved, and it's very difficult to prove. Anyway, so back to the electrical harassment, and it does. I understand why people feel like they're being stalked, because when you are, example, if you're driving in a car or you're going on a bus, people stare. Their eyes, they look at you longer. They spend time longer looking at your face. They just give you, example, in my life, if you're ugly or something, obviously people could be looking at you ugly, so that could be a reason. But, even, I'm not an attractive person. It's kind of visually obvious. People never used to stare, even when I looked the same a few years before, people would not stare at me. And then, now, they stare at me longer. So, I feel like I feel like I'm being watched. So I can understand why some people who claim that they're victims of, gang stalking or whatever, why they feel there might be stalking involved or whatever, to have this many people say bad things about them, or to have different employees treat them differently. That's the other thing with these difference between slander and gang stalking. Okay, non-media realm, meaning, non-court, non-political type situation, not those type of area. I can see why some people might feel like stalking is involved. Just the amount of people that get involved, because the harassment is even on the job, meaning if you go to school or work or a doctor's appointment or church or whatever you go, they harass you even when you go to a lot of places, not one place. See, if it was like slander, it would be more in the social atmosphere kind of thing. It would be more, people would not visit you maybe as much. They might be distance and stuff, but they would do their job correctly, usually. Unless the slander is in your job, because then you might have a little bit of bullying, because that's workplace bullying. And then workplace bullying, they do their jobs purposely wrong, but that's because somebody in the job doesn't like you, and they get their little friend buddies up against you, and that's totally different, because that's just one location where, yes, the laws could be broken, may or may not. Workplace bullying is not always a crime. Same thing for school bullying. It may or may not be legal depending on how it's being done, depending on the severity and the extent. But it would be possible for them to be breaking the law if it was, just specifically at one job. It's possible. Now, when you move, it should probably not repeat itself, most likely. Unless it's gang stalking. If it's gang stalking, then it doesn't matter what job you move to, the situation will repeat itself, because this is where the stalking aspect comes in. I understand why people feel they're being stalked, because anytime you switch, or any place that you go to, people say something weird. They say something odd or unnatural, or they give you an odd comment, something to remind you. Sometimes they do code words. The code word is kind of creepy. You can't prove it, but they'll use one word So they don't speak to you at all, like the whole time. That's normal. That's normal. They don't have to, because if they're sitting next to you, or they're not a secretary. They're not someone you're directly talking to or something. But like they could be sitting to you, or they could be walking near you, and they use one code word. So they don't say anything else besides that one word. And then the whole month or the next 6 months, you will hear probably 100 people use that one code word. This is where the delusional, like, oh, you're psychotic, or oh, you're crazy, or this is where the, they believe the voice to skull. This is where those people, I believe that what they did is they're orchestrating. They want to like give you this feeling like you're being watched, and so they told somebody. So that means that the people that use the code word, that means that they talked about you, but they don't want to tell you that they talked about you, so they use the code word, one word, the whole conversation. They don't talk to you anything at all, and they use one word, and they pass by. And then you will hear it over and over with different people, and it's their way of letting you know that they talked about you. Most likely in a bad way, in the sense that it's weird. Right? If somebody talks about you good, they'll be like, hey, I heard a story about you. Yeah, you did good, in school, or I met you at church and it was fun, or we went vacation, or, we watched a movie or something like that. Or we played the sports or something. Like, you would, if it's something good, you would mention it to that person. But these people, they're not like, plus there's all that staring, the weird eye contact, and all this unnatural movement, frigidity, and the isolation, the kind of staying, distant and all that stuff. So you kind of know that whatever they said must be bad. They don't tell you what they said, but because they use the code word, you know that they talked about you. Or with the employees, the easy one is when they do their job the wrong way, and they start giving you attitude, they harass you, and they start lying and all stuff like that, and they get your information incorrect, and they make you repeat your words over and over. They say, oh, I didn't hear you, I didn't understand you, can you say that again, or they spell your name wrong, or they get your birth date wrong. They do all these little annoying things, because this never happened before the gangstalking. They never did it to you, but then once the gangstalking happened, they start doing these little annoying things to get you, they start making little mistakes like that to get you really irritated, so you can reschedule your appointment. They lose the papers. They say, oh, we don't know what happened to the appointment, or, oh, you don't have an appointment. When you did come, you made the appointment. They'll say, oh, we didn't make an appointment for you. When they, over the phone or in person, you said it, and then they do all these little stuff like that to get you annoyed. And then this is how I knew I was being, used. It's just all these odd, every time you go somewhere, they do something wrong. Complaining is useless because they claim it's an accident. Oh, someone spells your name wrong. It's an accident. That's bad because, especially in the medical field, it's really, really bad, because hypothetically, if you were like surgery, something like you might accidentally. What's the probability though that the person has a similar name as you? So, but I'm just saying, if they write something wrong, they could cut off the wrong leg, they could do the wrong, they could put the wrong organ in your body, so that's, well, with my situation, it was never that extremity. It's just that, like, the appointments, they would, like, mess it up, and the paper dates, and they would make you wait longer and stuff than necessary because of some sort of mistake that they made, wrong diagnosis, all this and stuff like that.